I was watching a video today and somebody was talking about Archons. I've heard this term a lot and I've done a little bit of research into it. And basically, you know, an ancient race of beings that supposedly inhabits and reincarnates and inhabits human bodies and is jealous of us because we have drive or desires or whatnot. There's a lot of different views on it, but keep my distance from that one because I don't, it's not my specialty. Just wondering what other people think about this idea because I know there's at least a few of you out there who probably know, you know, a lot more than I do on the subject, but I was watching a video and a guy was talking about Archons and how they supposedly reincarnate through these bloodlines. It's been it's a big topic of conversation among a lot of people. I'm not, all I have as evidence that I've found that supports it is, well, the same evidence I guess that you have with anything else. I just choose to research certain topics and avoid others. But this one I'm kind of curious about this idea that he had that they reincarnate in bloodlines, and if this is even remotely possible or true, right? Let's say it is. Then my question is whether or not these people are aware in their reincarnated state of their previous lives. And the reason I say that is because those who believe in reincarnation, um, I am one of them to an extent, but I don't believe it in the same sense as other people. But that we reincarnate directly into other human bodies, and that we set a life goal or something to accomplish that we needed to deal with our karma in previous lives. And the one thing that's always just bugged me about it is why are we unaware of our previous lives, or is it just somewhere embedded in our subconscious, or maybe in the collective? But if there was something that a soul, if we're all one and we're all one part of this one collective mind, why would we need to have one soul specifically reincarnate into a body in order to accomplish something that could easily be accomplished through another soul and would still be reflected in the universal eye? If you follow me, the universe doesn't make mistakes. It has a process. There's some purpose to everything in my mind. So now the question about the Archons was whether or not they're aware of their reincarnated state, whether or not they can remember all events of their past lives, which would be the best method to accomplishing their tasks if they had one, say, to rule the world. Let's say all this is true. Why do they remember their past lives? And if they do, how do they function? How could anyone function having such a vast history behind them? It would make people strange. It would make people very different from the average person, because it's kind of like you see these movies about vampires who have lived for thousands of years, and they're usually these average Joes. But in reality, we know that, that type of a history, we don't know what it would do to a human mind. I guess if it's not a human, it doesn't matter, but human emotion and human activity is based on usually the age of the person and their environment, circumstances. So if something were really that old and had that kind of a memory, how would it function within this society? It's just a thought, not saying that it couldn't, or that it's not true, because I don't like to speculate. I love to speculate. I just don't like to draw conclusions. But I thought the Archon idea was really interesting because, I don't doubt the possibility at all. I believe that there are other entities that are among us that are multi-layered, multi-dimensional, on different vibratory frequencies. I've done a lot of research into it, and it's fascinating. A great book to read to start, if people are interested, is the Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. I read that when it came out a long time ago, and that kind of got me on my path. Like 8 years of looking into all this stuff, and I don't like to go into the details because I feel like it bores the average person, because there's just so many weird little facts involved in what atoms are, atomic structure, the nanotechnology and the implications of it, and basically that everything, when you tell the average person that nothing really exists, that everything's just a frequency, people can say, okay, cool, but how many people really grasp it? Does anyone grasp it? I mean, I don't even think that the top scientists in the world that are, the top nanoscientists in the world understand really what it's all about or how it works. Because when you get down to the atomic level, things behave differently. And it's a totally different world down there. I mean, the eye of the beholder, the intention behind the person doing the experiment can affect the outcome. And this is why people talk about mind over matter. Well, they've already proven mind over matter on a minute scale. But what it comes down to is trying to do it on a macro scale with billions of trillions of atoms. It's a different ball game. But it is possible. It just takes more mind power. And there's no reason to think that the mind can't manipulate everything around us. And, just like there's the monks, in Tibet who can go into these caves in ice cold weather, and they put these hot towels over them, or cold towels, whatever it is, that they soak these towels in water. They become hot, and they basically just evaporate off all the water. They can raise their body temperature. They can affect themselves on a cellular level. And when we look at the cellular structure, we realize that each cell is basically an entity of its own. And one of the most amazing aspects of nanotechnology and in the micro world is the fact that one can explain how cells may have come forth through evolution if they want to try really hard. But what ties everything together is the fact that these molecules are working in unison. There may be an explanation for how these molecules could create consciousness in humans, if a person wants to go that far. But there's no explanation as to how these molecules can work in unison like a flock of birds. It's way beyond that, but it's the universal tether that binds everything, the web. I remember years ago when science came out with these new ideas about string theory, and it was a fascinating subject, but still, do people really understand what string theory is? It's pretty intense stuff, but I guess I got way off path. But the Archons thing is pretty interesting, so just wondering what anybody else's thoughts are on that, and guess I better go. I'm getting screamed at by my kid.